So I invested over $60,000 in this growth fund that has an 8% dividend yield. According to conventional wisdom and the infinite wisdom Reddit, this is a terrible idea and it's gonna horrendously backfire on me. But so far, I'm happy with my decision. I don't think I'm gonna regret it, and I want to discuss it in this video. So I guess the first thing to know here is that this holds growth equities. In that regard, it's pretty similar to the QQQ or SCHG, but the main difference is that this has a partial covered call strategy. Somewhat similar to more popular funds you might have seen before, like JEPQ or some other names. The main difference between this fund, however, and those funds is that this sells those covered calls on individual holdings, not broad market indices. And I think that's a better strategy. This is another fund by the same company. They sell individual call options on dividend names, and we can see that over the past 5 years, it has done pretty well when benchmarked against other regular dividend funds. So my expectation here is that long-term, this ETF, QDVO, will have comparable returns to other normal equity growth ETFs, probably lagging behind them by about 1% per year. Now at this point, a lot of people naturally ask, if these funds are expected to even slightly underperform, then why not just invest in normal broad market growth ETFs? And my response to this is that not everything is quantifiable and shows up in one of these charts. And specifically, I'll give you two real tangible points here. Point one is the added motivation. I find these income producing assets to be very motivational because I know that every 30 days, I'm going to be receiving a big paycheck. That paycheck increases if I invest more money and it decreases if I sell. And the reason why this matters is because we all know statistically, the average investor does not match the returns of the market. The reason for this is because if you make a mistake, even just the occasional mistake of selling at an inopportune time, such as last April during the tariff sell-off, that can have a huge impact on your final annualized returns. So that's point one, the motivation aspect. And if that can help you to avoid even the occasional mistake, it can more than compensate for any slight systematic underperformance of the fund overall. And then I gotta say, the other aspect of covered call funds that I absolutely love is their automatic profit taking. Because I've realized as an investor, one of my core weaknesses is identifying when to sell and take profits. That's just something that I've noticed I'm absolutely terrible at. And with these covered call funds, they essentially always systematically take a little bit of profit. Now this is slight because I prefer funds that have just a partial covered call strategy. So QDVO, for example, only occasionally sells covered calls on some individual holdings. And even then, it's only on a portion of the position. And I just really like this aspect of covered calls. For instance, right now, July 2025, the market is at all-time highs. It appears a little bit frothy. Meme stocks are back. So this could be a high, it could not be a high. The market could continue to rise for years to come. I have no idea. But regardless, this fund is systematically taking some profits. So that's why I'm a pretty big fan of selling options. In fact, ultimately, once my portfolio gets big enough, I actually want to transition to what's known as the wheel strategy. This is where you sell both covered calls and cash secured puts on a handful of core high quality equities that you want to own for the long term. And that's why, at least for now, I invest in funds like QDVO. I really like the holdings. These large cap growth names I think are some of the best in the market. I have no issue with owning them. And opportunistically selling call options on these names, I think is just a fantastic strategy. Now, I do have a pretty in-depth spreadsheet where I track the total performance and the returns of my portfolio and this strategy. If you guys want to see that kind of stuff, let me know. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.